is Mandira. Welcome to AglaSem, and today we are going to do Class 11, Chapter 9, which is the last chapter, Motivation and Emotion. So this chapter deals with how to generate motivation, what are the types of motivation, what are the factors around us that will help us generate motivation in us. So this is a very frequently asked question in psychology कि मैम क्या करें कि मुझे अंदर से मोटिवेशन नहीं आ रही है पढ़ने की. I want to score well but I can't get up and I can't get myself to do stuff. So what are the kind of things that I should do in order to get motivated? Hopefully this chapter will answer all those questions and you will get motivated to learn this chapter as well. So let's get started. The concept of motivation focuses on explaining what moves. Okay? In fact, the term motivation is derived from the Latin word movia, which referring to the movement or activity. It means कि कोई भी चीज की जो मूवमेंट है उसको हम मोटिवेशन से रिलेट कर सकते हैं. जैसे मैं आपको बता रही थी कि people ask कि मैम I'm not getting the motivation to get up and do something. So motivation के नाम से आपको हमेशा यही चीज आ जाती है ना, just get up and start doing something. ठीक है? So let's come to the motivational cycle. So अब ये जो हमारा मोटिवेशन का साइकिल होता है ये कैसे चलता है, जैसे मैं आपको बता रही थी कि क्या होता है जो व्हाट इज इट दैट इज ड्राइविंग अस, व्हाट इज इट दैट इज मोटिवेटिंग अस टू डू समथिंग. ठीक है, इसमें लिखा है अ नीड इज अ लैक और डेफिसिट ऑफ सम नेसेसिटी. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर आपको मार्क्स चाहिए इन ऑर्डर टू गेट एडमिशन इन व्हाटएवर कॉलेज यू डिजायर, देन दैट इज अ नीड और दैट इज अ लैक और डेफिसिट ऑफ सम नेसेसिटी. ठीक है, तो नीड से क्या आती है हमारी लाइफ में, ड्राइव आती है. ड्राइव मतलब इट इज अ स्टेट ऑफ टेंशन और अराउजल प्रोड्यूस्ड बाय अ नीड. मतलब I want to get admission, so I'll get up, I'll start studying. मुझे मन कर रहा है कि I should go and start working hard in order to achieve my goals of getting into a good college. ठीक है, it energizes random activity जो हमारी चल रही होती है. ठीक है, when one of the random activities leads to a goal, it reduces the drive and the organism stops being active. अब for example, hopefully I really hope कि आप लोगों को whatever college that you want to get into or whatever you want to do next in your life, you get the best of it. So if you work hard and you study well enough and you are able to achieve your desired goal, जैसे जो भी आपका कॉलेज अब आपको मिल जाए, whatever marks you need, you get that, then you will start to get, then that will be like कि आपकी जो motivation का goal था that has been reached. So it's not like you will not get motivated again after that, but yes, your motivation to score well in class 12 or class 11, that will end there. ठीक है, once you have achieved that goal using the drive मतलब arousal, जो आपको जोश आया हुआ है. ठीक है, मुझे काम करना है. So after that you will get motivated for different things in life. For example, after that you will start in your college, so you will start getting motivated to you score better in college, then to get a better placement or to go into future degrees. आगे जाके full of life, हमारी it is full of moments in which we are asked to get motivated and do stuff. Okay, throughout your career, throughout your life, you will find different instances that motivate you to do different kind of things. Okay, and once you achieve those goals, okay, that need is kind of satisfied, but then again a need will come where you will need to get motivated. ठीक है, अब आ जाते हैं types of motives पे. अच्छा, motives और motivation में क्या फर्क होता है? जो motives होते हैं ना, those drive motivation. Motive क्या होता है कि the reason why you are motivated. What is the reason that is causing you to drive or causing the arousal in you to perform some activity that you might be intended to perform. ठीक है? Now, basically there are two types of motives, biological and psychosocial. Biological motives कौन से होते हैं? They are known as physiological motives also. They are guided mostly by physiological mechanisms of the body. And psychosocial motives जो होते हैं, they are primarily learned from individuals' interactions with environmental forces. अब वो environmental forces या factors आपके parents, आपके इधर-उधर की चीजें भी हो सकती हैं, and those environmental forces factors can also be any kind of objects or any kind of goal. Okay. Now both type of motives are interdependent on each other. That means that they depend on each other. It is a cross situation over here. ठीक है? That is, in some kind of situations, the biological factors may trigger a motive, whereas in some other situations, psychosocial factors may trigger. अब for example, मैं आपको एक छोटा सा एक interlinked example देती हूँ. ठीक है? For example, your goal is to study this chapter and learn it by the end of the day. ठीक है? But now you are feeling really hungry. So right now you are motivated to go into the kitchen and cook something, Maggi बना लिया, कुछ बना लिया, and or eat something healthy and eat it and satisfy your primary need जो आपकी है for biological need of hunger. ठीक है? Whereas after after that need has been satisfied, then you know that okay, now that I have eaten, I can get this out of my way and start studying this chapter. That you are doing for psychosocial reasons, because you want to get the chapter done. I told you already the whole drill where you want to get the chapter done, you want to get your admission in a good college, or आपको career अच्छा करना है, all those kind of external environmental factors. ठीक है? So simultaneously you are doing two activities. You are driven to do two activities for one biological goal and psychosocial goals. And if the biological goal was not satisfied, for example, if you go into the kitchen, you don't find anything, and you're like, "ये मैं नहीं खा सकती," then even the psychosocial goal will be hindered. That means, अगर आप भूखे पेट बैठ के you are trying to do this chapter, then maybe you'll find it more tedious. It will be harder for you to remember. It'll be harder for you to understand, because that primary need of food is still in your tummy. So that's why they are very interdependent factors. One can hinder the other, and one can also facilitate the other. ठीक है? जैसे कि in the first example where you do find food. So let's first study the biological motives in greater depth. अब इसमें क्या है? Biological motivation जो है, that is one of the earliest attempts to understand the causes of behavior, why people do what they do. ठीक है? Why they are motivated to do something. The approach adhering to the concept of adaptive act holds that organisms have needs, right? And that produce drive which stimulates behavior leading to certain actions towards achieving certain goals which reduce the drive. ठीक है? अब क्या होता है कि अगर for example जैसे again I'm saying, अभी तो हम लोग we are very evolved beings, right? We can go into the kitchen and cook. We have vegetables, or we can go to the supermarket and fetch vegetables for us. But if you take an evolutionary perspective, when early man was motivated by hunger to go and hunt something, that would be the drive example there. So early man obviously did not have kitchens and did not have microwaves and ovens like us. So us time पे क्या था, that they had to go hunting as soon as they felt hungry. So that was their drive to go out hunting. If I'm feeling hungry, my drive is to that arousal I need in order to go hunting and kill an animal and whatever, roast it or whatever and eat it. ठीक है? So this is very instinctual process. Instinctual क्या होता है? Instinct denotes inborn patterns of behavior that are biologically determined rather than learned. For example, if a newborn baby is born, is there, you know that it will get hungry and start crying. ठीक है? You don't need to teach the newborn baby to learn what is hunger. ठीक है? So this is an instinct. मतलब naturally जो चीज आपको सिखानी नहीं पड़ रही है, जो you are something that you are born with. ठीक है? One of the examples is hunger. Then other examples are curiosity, मतलब asking questions, repulsion. For example, certain smells, say pungent smells से हमको काफी repulsive feelings आती हैं, because that is there. Then reproduction, parental care, etc. ठीक है? So इसमें एक और term they have used. Instinct has an impetus. Impetus मतलब push. ठीक है? Which drives the organism to do something to reduce that impetus. मतलब जब भी हम लोग एक drive mode में जाते हैं, हम लोग को drive mode में जाने के बाद we want to come back to our normal also. ठीक है? So भूख लगी है, go into drive, hunt, gather, or go cook Maggie in the kitchen, and then that drive will be satisfied. ठीक है? And then we will look for other sources of motivation to do other things in life. Some of the basic biological needs explained by this approach are hunger, thirst, and sex. So आ जाते हैं हम ये 3 biological needs पे. First one is hunger. ठीक है? So हाँ, hunger पे आते हैं. Hunger में क्या होता है? भूख लगना. Stimuli for hunger include stomach contractions, which signify the stomach is empty, a low concentration of glucose in the blood, a low level of protein, and the amount of fat stored in the body. पेट आपके में आवाज आने लग जाएगी, गुड 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 गुड, एंड कंट्रैक्ट होने लग जाएगा स्टमक, एंड यू नो दैट काइंड ऑफ फीलिंग व्हेन यू आर फीलिंग हंग्री. ठीक है? सो लिवर ऑल्सो रिस्पॉन्ड्स टू लैक ऑफ सर्टनली बॉडीली फ्लूइड. इसमें बहुत सारे ऑर्गन्स इन्वॉल्व है, स्टमक इन्वॉल्व है, लिवर इन्वॉल्व है. इनफैक्ट देयर इज अ वेरी नीट लिटिल पैराग्राफ गिवन हियर. द लिवर सेंड्स सिग्नल टू द पार्ट ऑफ द ब्रेन कॉल्ड हाइपोथैलेमस. आपको याद होगा व्हेन वी डिड बायोलॉजिकल बेसिस ऑफ बिहेवियर, एज फार एज आई कैन रिमेंबर, we were talking about endocrine glands, and there we were talking about hypothalamus. ठीक है? So this is the one that is sending signals to the lateral hypothalamus, ventromedial, and that is the lateral hypothalamus is considered to be an excitatory area. When animals eat, this area is stimulated. In fact, there is this sort of chemical, it's called leptin, that is produced in your body when you start to feel hungry, and the amount of leptin decreases when your need for food is fulfilled. ठीक है? जब आपका पेट भर जाता है. So we know that there is a proper need biological system that is driving hunger and is motivating us to eat. ठीक है. Similar, हम लोग second उस पे चलते हैं, that is thirst. Similar, we have a drinking mechanism. Drinking water is very necessary because we'll have a dry mouth. Here you go. I have water, so I'm going to have a sip. Stay hydrated. Yeah, so it must go into the tissue sufficiently to remove the dryness of mouth and throat, which it did happen right now. So when water is lost by bodily fluids, water leaves the interior of the cell. ठीक है? So the anterior hypothalamus contains a nerve cells called Osmo Receptors. Osmo मतलब you can hear it. Osmosis पढ़ा होगा आपने. Osmo Receptors उससे connected है, which generate nerve impulses in case of cell dehydration. तो हमारे यहाँ एक receptor होता है जिसमें अगर हमारे को पानी की कमी है, our body is feeling thirsty, then it will send signals to that. ठीक है, area of the brain, and that area of the brain will tell us कि अरे I am dehydrated, give me water. ठीक है. So if organisms stop drinking water, stop the intake of water, then it's going to cause a lot of harm to our body, and it is also going to cause a lot of harm to our brain. ठीक है. It is responsible. For example, researchers assume that mechanism which explains the intake of water is also responsible for stopping the intake of water. ठीक है? कि कब when you have stopped feeling thirsty, now I'm not going to drink more water because I'll start feeling uncomfortable. ठीक है? So this was thirst. Now final हमारी जो biological need आती है, that is sex. ठीक है? Now sex is you can see it, although it is given under the category, the subcategory of biological motives, we need to understand that sex is actually much more than a biological motive. Why? First reason, because it is not necessary for an individual's survival. Yes, it's necessary to maintain the next generation. It is necessary to maintain the survival of mankind. Lekin it is not necessary for an individual survival. For example, if you don't choose to have sex your entire life, you're not going to die. ठीक है? So the next one is about the next reason why it is more than a biological need. It's because of you can say it's not required to maintain homeostasis. Homeostasis क्या होता है कि जो चीज जैसी है उसको वैसी ही रहने दो. It means the tendency of the organism as a whole to maintain constancy or attempt to restore equilibrium if constancy is disturbed. That is not the goal of sexual activity. In fact, homeostasis सेक्सुअल एक्टिविटी से अटेन तो बिल्कुल ही नहीं हो सकता, शायद इधर उधर जरूर हो जाए. ओके, सो दैट इज नॉट द केस देयर. The last reason is because sex drive develops with age, right? So it is not a biological need. For example, जो hunger है, right? That is when you are inborn. जो instinctual हम बात करते हैं, instinctive, ठीक है? And it is something you are born with. But sex drive will only develop with age. After puberty, most probably, that's when our sex organs start to grow and we start getting, sex hormones start getting secreted. Here it is given. They are secreted by the gonads, testes in males and ovaries in females, which are responsible for sexual motivation. And that is also influenced by other endocrine glands like adrenal and pituitary glands. Okay? So that is why sex is not just a biological need. It is more than that because of all the different factors attached to it. And primary reason क्या है? It is not necessary for survival. Whereas hunger and thirst, you can die without food, you can die without water. ठीक है? Next we come to the next subheading, which is psychosocial motives. अब biological motives तो हमने कर लिए. The first psychosocial motive we are going to study is the need for affiliation. Affiliation मतलब आपने सुना होगा ना कभी-कभी स्कूल का affiliation कैंसिल हो गया या स्कूल का एफिलिएशन कौन से CBSE से है किससे है. एफिलिएशन मीन्स द नीड टू बिलोंग काइंड ऑफ. ठीक है, टू स्टे, टू फॉर्म अ रिलेशनशिप विद सम सॉर्ट ऑफ थिंग, टू स्टे इन अ ग्रुप, ऐसा समझ सकते हो आप. ठीक है, nobody likes to remain alone all the time. As soon as people see some kinds of similarities among themselves or they like each other, they form a group. It is a natural tendency to form a group. ठीक है. Now affiliation में it is very important to understand that अब तो हम लोग सोच ही रहे हैं. You might be thinking of examples like, oh, I am in the school, so I have a group of friends that I hang out with, or if I am in the tuition, I have a group of friends there, and that's fulfilling my need for affiliation. Correct. Again, if you look at it from an evolutionary perspective, the need for affiliation is very, very important because when early man went hunting and gathering, it was very important to go in groups for protection. ठीक है, the bigger group that you are in, the less likely you are to be killed in a hunting attempt. So even from an evolutionary perspective, the need for affiliation makes a lot of sense. इसी नीड फॉर एफिलिएशन की वजह से वी हैव अ लॉट ऑफ, आई मीन because of the lack of need of because of the need of for affiliation and the lack thereof, we face a lot of it is related to a lot of mental disorders like depression and anxiety. ठीक है, इसी से related है. So need for affiliation is aroused when individuals feel threatened or helpless, and also when they are happy. So if you are in a situation where you are feeling threatened by something, then you will be like, oh, मैं किसी को ढूंढूं, that person can help me, or I should be in a group, right? Like बोलते हैं ना, डर लग रहा है, so you should be in a group. Or when you are happy, so if you go to a party, have you ever seen a person go to a party where he is the only person that he is, inviting? ऐसा नहीं है. He'll invite a bunch of people because in order to enjoy also you need the affiliation, the company of other people. ठीक है. Second, let's come to the need for power. The need for power is an ability of a person to produce intended effects on the behavior and emotions of another person. मतलब trying to sort of gain power and control the other person's actions. ठीक है? So, various goals of power motivation are to influence, control, persuade, lead and charm others, and most importantly to enhance one's own reputation in the eyes of people. ठीक है? तो कहते हैं ना कि if you clear the UPSC exams, you'll have a lot of power. That means you'll have a lot of authority on people. So that is the need for power. Now, David McClelland, okay, this guy has described 4 general ways of expression of power. The first is that people do things to gain feelings of power and strength from sources outside themselves by reading stories about sports or stars attaching themselves to popular figure. That means you must be, always in our life there is one popular figure that we attach ourselves with, and we are like, oh, I want to have the kind of social power that the person has, or the kind of monetary power. Just like a lot of people might be influenced by Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, any kind of monetary person who has a lot of monetary power, जिसके पास बहुत पैसे हैं. And some people are influenced by social kind of socially powerful people, and here only we'll study that. Second, the power can also be felt from sources within us and may be expressed by building up body and mastering urges and impulses. Gym jana is although you can do it for fitness as well, but some people do it for the need for power as well. I want to be able to control my body, I want to be able to control my urges. Okay. Third, people do things as individuals to have an impact on others. For example, a person argues or competes with another individual in order to have an impact or influence on that person, right? As I was saying, the need for power. So, for example, I am very, very much influenced by a journalist called Faye D'Souza, and I feel like that is the kind of social power I would like to have, such a responsible social power she has, right? So, this is an example of the need for power and simultaneously getting motivated also by someone who is a social or monetary kind of figure. Okay. Fourth, the people do things as members of organizations to have an impact on others. In case of the leader or political party, the individual may use the party apparatus to influence others. Exactly. Political leadership is a very good example. A lot of people want to have political power. Okay. Because they are inspired by certain, you might be inspired by the prime minister or the chief minister, any kind of person, and want to become such a powerful political figure, who has control or who has power over a particular state or a particular country. Very easy to get motivated like that. The third heading we are going to do under psychosocial motives is the need for achievement. Okay? इसमें क्या है? Achievement motivation is basically the desire of a person to meet the standards of excellence. Now, this is exactly when you want to score high. And this is an example, neat example of need for achievement. या फिर if I, want to become the best psychologist in the world, you want to meet the standards of excellence. So, that is the need for achievement का example. ठीक है? Need for achievement, also known as energe. Okay, energizes and directs behavior as well as influences perception of situations. ठीक है? Persons high in achievement motivation tend to prefer tasks that are moderately difficult and challenging. If you are motivated, ऐसा नहीं है कि you will be like only doing easy tasks. You always want to challenge yourself and get better at things. The final one we're going to do is curiosity and exploration. So this is also psychosocial need that, the kind of pleasure you derive from asking questions, from getting to know the world around you. That is a very, very important psychosocial need. ठीक है? it is a motivational tendency to act without any specifically identifiable goal. मतलब जैसे कि again going back to the evolutionary time when people found new objects, when the wheel was invented, all these are ड्यू टू क्यूरोसिटी एंड एक्सप्लोरेशन कि अगर ये एक वुडन ऑब्जेक्ट है, इसको हम एक सर्कुलर ऑब्जेक्ट पे रोटेट करेंगे, वो ऐसे चलेगा, ये चलेगा, वट एवर वॉज डन, इट वॉज डन ड्यू टू क्यूरोसिटी एंड एक्सप्लोरेशन. जब उन्होंने व्हील बनाया, मे बी दे डिड नॉट हैव इट इन माइंड कि वी आर गोइंग टू मेक दिस वन थिंग इन द एंड, बट क्यूरोसिटी एंड एक्सप्लोरेशन लेड देम टू बिलीव दैट. और फॉर एग्जाम्पल व्हेन न्यूटन डिस्कवर्ड when he invented the principles of the laws of physics, जो मोशन वाले लॉज है हमारे, so ऐसा नहीं है कि he was sitting under the tree on that day thinking that, oh, I'm going to be a big physicist and I'm going to make these laws and do this and do that. No, the apple fell and he was curious कि क्यों, why did it fall, and the rule of gravity, all his curiosity, and then he went on exploration and then he wrote mathematical equations which led to him becoming one of the most influential figures in physics even as of now. ठीक है. So our ignorance about a number of things around us becomes a powerful motivator to explore the world. We can easily get bored with repetitive experiences, so we look for something new. Okay? So again, because we are bored when there is homeostasis, we will want to explore more and be curious about the things around us. Okay? Okay, so this brings us to our next main heading, which is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Very, very, very famous psychological experiment and model. So any person who is studying psychology from an external perspective will always say two things. एक तो कि ये Freud वाली है, he'll always have heard of Freud, and then people have always heard of this Maslow's hierarchy. So let's get on to the most rock star of psychology, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So Abraham Maslow attempted to portray a picture of human behavior by arranging the various needs in a hierarchy. Hierarchy मतलब step by step, and a organization in which step by step decision making is done. His viewpoint about motivation is very popular because of its theoretical and applied value, which is popularly known as the theory of self-actualization. So self-actualization is a term which you will hear in a lot of humanistic and existential perspectives. So I think you have read briefly about it in the first chapter of class 11, but you will read in even more depth in class 12. There is a whole section on humanist and existential. So Maslow's model पढ़ लेते हैं फटाफट. Maslow's model में it is a very famous picture. At the bottom there is physiological needs. Physiological needs जो हमने अभी भी पढ़ी, hunger and thirst and sex. Once these are fulfilled, then we move on to safety needs. Safety needs क्या होती है? Becoming free of danger. So that I should, for example, building a house is one of the primary ways to ensure a safety need. कि if I'm staying in a house, then nobody can come attack me, or an animal at least cannot hunt me down. ठीक है. The third column there is belongingness needs. Belongingness मतलब now that I have a house, now that I'm secure and I have enough food for myself, I want to interact with other people. I want to affiliate with other people and form groups so that my social existence is meaningful. ठीक है. So that's what happens with belongingness needs. The next one is the esteem needs. Esteem needs मतलब okay, now I'm part of a meaningful group also. मेरा घर भी है, मेरे पास खाना भी है. Now I need to prove myself as an excellent person. ठीक है. I need to get myself up to the level of excellence. For example, I'm sure that if you're watching this video, and I really hope that you have food at your home and you have a safety net, you have a house, and you definitely belong to certain kind of groups because you're going to a school, or at least you're attending CBSE, so that is in itself a belongingness group. Now what you are doing in your life, you are doing for esteem needs, that I want to perform well, I want to score well in this class, and I want to get the college of my choice, or I want to get a career of my choice, or I want to become really rich. Okay, these are all esteem needs. And the final one is self-actualization needs. Self-actualized person क्या होता है? Is self-aware, socially responsive, creative, spontaneous, open to novelty and challenge. ठीक है? That is when you have achieved all these things and you become a flexible, relatively flexible person, a socially responsive person. So basically you are not a loner. आप एक group में भी adjust कर रहे हो. You are achieving your dreams as well. You have basic minimum needs all fulfilled, hopefully. And I really, really hope that all our parents are at this stage where they have self-actualized. They have made a good life for themselves and for you. ठीक है? लोअर लेवल नीड्स नीड टू बी सेटिस्फाइड बिफोर उसके आप ऊपर चढ़ पाओ. सो अनलेस फिजियोलॉजिकल इज डन, सेफ्टी पे नहीं आएगा. अनलेस सेफ्टी इज डन, बिलोंगिंगनेस पे नहीं आएगा, एंड सो ऑन. नेक्स्ट वी कम टू फ्रस्ट्रेशन एंड कॉन्फ्लिक्ट. फ्रस्ट्रेशन क्या होता है? फ्रस्ट्रेशन हैपेंस व्हेन एनी काइंड ऑफ गोल इज ब्लॉक्ड. ठीक है, एंटिसिपेटेड डिजायरेबल गोल इज नॉट अटेन्ड एंड द मोटिव इज ब्लॉक्ड. तो अगर आप कोई चीज करना चाह रहे हो और वो चीज नहीं हो पा रही बिकॉज ऑफ इंटरनल और एक्सटर्नल फैक्टर्स, एनी काइंड ऑफ फैक्टर्स इट कैन हैव, then you will feel frustrated. This is a very commonly used term also. For example, if you thought that you will do this chapter today, पूरा chapter आपने आज prepare कर लेना था, but someone came to your house and you were not able to do it because you were you had to sit with them or you had to serve them tea or something like that, then you will feel really frustrated at the end of the day कि यार मैंने plan किया था that I have to do this and I was not able to do it. Now frustration, aggression hypothesis suggests that if you are frustrated, it will lead to aggression. ठीक है. अग्रेसिव एक्ट्स क्या होते हैं? ऑफन डायरेक्टेड टुवर्ड्स सेल्फ और ब्लॉकिंग एजेंट. ब्लॉकिंग एजेंट मतलब जो वॉट एवर इज ब्लॉकिंग यू फ्रॉम अटेनिंग दैट गोल, you will be aggressive towards that thing. So maybe if someone has come to you, I do not recommend this and I do not condone this behavior, but maybe next time when they come to your house, you are really rude to them that हाँ ठीक है अभी मम्मी आप चाय दे दो, and I don't want to sit with them. I just go and study in my room and lock myself up and start studying so that my goals are achieved. ठीक है, don't do this. But obviously frustration can lead to aggression. This is what the aggression hypothesis says, that frustration leads to aggression. The main sources or causes of frustration may be environmental forces, physical objects हो सकते हैं. आपका पेन टेबल के नीचे आ गया है and you are unable to grab it, that is one of the examples. Constraining situations or even other people who prevent a person from reaching a particular goal, as I gave you the example. Then it can be personal factors also, like inadequacies or lack of resources that make it difficult. For example, अंदर से आपको मन नहीं कर रहा पढ़ने का किसी दिन, ऐसा भी बहुत होता है that you want to prepare this chapter but you don't feel like getting out of bed or you don't feel like studying and you are watching Netflix, और रात को you feel really guilty and frustrated that shit, I was supposed to do this and that did not happen. Okay, so it is an example of external factors. या दोनों भी हो सकते हैं. क्या पता पढ़ने का मन भी ना कर रहा हो. Conflicts between different motives. पढ़ने का मन नहीं कर रहा था, guests भी आ गए, so I wasted my time there and I didn't study this chapter, so it can have a conflict also. Now let's come to the next topic, which is conflict. Conflict क्या होता है? It occurs when a person must choose between contradictory needs, desires and motives. ठीक है. Conflict और frustration में ये फर्क है कि वहां पर तो your need is being blocked by something, but conflict आपको दो alternatives में से एक पिक करना पड़ रहा है, इसलिए होता है. ठीक है. It can be approach conflict, avoidance conflict and approach avoidance conflict. Approach क्या होता है? जिसमें having to choose between two positives or desirable outcomes. For example, you go to the market, pizza खाऊं या momos खाऊं, and you like them both. So that is an approach conflict. ठीक है. Avoidance क्या होता है? Choosing from two negatives or mutually undesirable alternatives. For example, लौकी खाना या तोरी खाना. That is an avoidance conflict. कि दोनों ही पसंद नहीं है. Assuming you don't like. In real life, the double avoidance conflicts involve dilemmas such as choosing between a dentist and tooth decay. Exactly. If you are having a lot of pain in your tooth, then either you bear that pain or you go to the dentist and bear the pain of actually getting the tooth extracted. Okay. इन दोनों में से कोई एक चीज करनी होगी. Both are undesirable. ठीक है. Approach avoidance conflict क्या होता है? जिसमें mix होता है. तो approach avoidance conflict comes by being attracted to and repelled by the same goal or activity. जैसे कि पढ़ना तो है because I want a college and I want a really good career, but I don't feel like doing it because I have a really cool documentary to watch on Netflix. So this is avoidance and approach also. Approach मतलब you know that it is good, but avoidance is you are still not doing it because something about it is undesirable. इसमें बहुत अच्छा example दिया है. A person wanting a new motorbike but not wanting to pay monthly installments. Exactly. You want a chaka-chak car but you don't have the money. So you don't want to be able to pay monthly installments. You don't want कि आपकी salary में से installment कट के आए. So even to achieve a desirable goal, you have to do something undesirable. So it is an approach avoidance conflict. ठीक है. Simultaneous existence of multiple wishes and needs characterize conflict. अगर एक साथ आपकी बहुत सारी wishes या needs है, ठीक है. अब हमारा ये chapter almost half cover हो गया है. So conflicting situations, last point cover कर लेती हूँ. Conflicting situations should be resolved after due consideration of the pros and cons of each choice. So whenever you are confused, make a pros and cons list and it will always work. So now we have come to halfway length of the chapter and now we will get to the next main heading, which is nature of emotions. अब emotions क्या होते हैं? Emotions होते हैं happy, sad, joy, sorrow, hope, love, excitement, anger, and hate, and many more. ठीक है? So all kinds of emotions that we face through our lives. It's a very commonly used word. इसमें एक definition दी है बहुत अच्छी सी. Emotions are complex patterns of arousal, subjective feeling, and cognitive interpretation. And emotions, as we experience them, move us internally, and this process involves physiological as well as psychological reactions. For example, if you are feeling really anxious about something, then your heartbeat will raise. ठीक है? उसके बाद आपका you will start to sweat, and you will start to have palpitations and all those kinds of physiological reactions. On the other hand, if you are anxious, you are also most likely to think negative, और आपको डर लगेगा that you are most likely to have catastrophic thinking, that आगे कुछ ना कुछ बुरा हो जाएगा, something like that, pessimistic thinking. So any kind of emotion that you're experiencing, whether it's fear, anxiety, any kind of thing, can have a physiological as well as a psychological response. ठीक है? And will have a psychological and physiological response. ठीक है? Here there is a big debate about how many emotions are there. Anger, disgust, fear, happiness, sadness, surprise. Although people have added to that and said joy, surprise, anger, disgust, contempt, fear, shame, guilt, interest, and excitement, with a combination resulting in other emotional blends. That's actually the one that I agree with. Lots of emotions, and they blend each other within each other. So to form certain kind of emotions. Okay? For example, I remember at my graduation ceremony, I was feeling really happy, but also really emotional and sentimental that I have finally achieved this whole thing. Or when I secured an admission in a PhD, I was feeling really happy, but really I was almost to tears, and I almost started crying. So these are the mixed kind of emotions we can face. You can be happy and sad at the same time. Okay? So here it is given that men are more evidence indicates that women experience all emotions except anger more intensely than men. That means women are happier than men, sadder than men. All the spectrum of emotions that we have, women will experience them more intensely, except for anger. क्योंकि anger जो होता है ना, वो women में it is not socially reinforced. मतलब if a woman becomes angry, then people will raise more fingers on her than they raise on a man. So in men, it is actually seen as a sign of aggression, seen as a sign of what do you call his masculinity. So men might be more prone to experiencing anger because it is more socially acceptable for them to display anger. Okay? Because of the gender roles. So, and of course they are evolving, but still this kind of stereotype exists according to latest research also. 2019-2020 research also suggests the same thing. Okay? Next we come to the heading physiological basis of emotions. मतलब biologically हमारी body में कौन-कौन से changes होंगे when we are experiencing emotions, and will those changes bring about new emotions, or will new emotions bring about those changes? ठीक है? All of you must have noted the increase in your heart rate, throbbing temples, increase in perspiration when you are trying to write an exam, and especially if you don't know the answer. ठीक है? Experience of emotions is a result of series of neurophysiological activations in which thalamus, hypothalamus, limbic system, and cerebral cortex are involved significantly. ठीक है? Selective activation of different brain areas has been experimentally shown to arouse different emotions. For example, जो happiness part of the brain है, that is different from the anxiety part of the brain. This is the kind of message that they are trying to give here. ठीक है? So let's quickly come to the theories of emotions. The first one is the James Lange theory. इसमें क्या है? That the theory suggests that environmental stimuli elicit physiological responses from viscera, which is the internal organs, which in turn are associated with muscle movement. For example, अगर आप एक intense noise सुन लो, बहुत जोर से, if I start clapping here, okay, then अचानक से you got scared, okay? So sorry about that. What will happen is that your perception about the bodily changes, like rapid breathing, pounding heart, running legs, whatever, obviously you're not doing this at now, but if a scary stimulus does come, that brings forth emotional arousal. For example, किसी का road accident हो गया, तो उस मतलब होते होते बच गया, so उसमें उसका heart rate increase हो जाएगा, थोड़ा पसीना आने लग जाएगा, and he will be scared. But according to this theory, the stimulus will happen, that is the road accident will happen, specific physiological changes will occur, increase in heartbeat, पसीना आना, all those things. The perception of those physiological changes will be deducted. मतलब कि okay, all this is happening because I am scared, and then the emotion will be experienced. ठीक है? The next theory here is of Cannon-Bard. Cannon-Bard claims that the entire process of emotion is mediated by thalamus, which after perception of emotion provoking stimulus conveys the information simultaneously to cerebral and to skeletal muscles and the sympathetic nervous system. ठीक है, इसका मतलब यह है कि जब भी हमारे साथ कोई भी इवेंट होगा, any emotion provoking event, then our thalamus will sort of divide it into two parts. First part में उसने sympathetic nervous system को भेज दिया, muscles को. Second में वो cerebral cortex मतलब brain को भेज देगा. ठीक है, and जो sympathetic nervous system है that will bring about physiological change. वो biological change bring out करेगा, जो भी perspiration, increase in heart rate or any kind of thing. And the cerebral cortex will bring up subjective experience of the emotion. जो हमारा actual emotion experience हो रहा है, which emotion is it? Is it fear? Is it happiness? Is it sadness? क्या हो रहा है? ठीक है, that will be put forward by the cerebral cortex. आपने sympathetic nervous system के बारे में तो we have read only in chapter 3. If anything is unclear, feel free to switch back to that video. Sympathetic nervous system is the SOS nervous system. मैंने बताया था, emergency वाला nervous system, that whenever autonomous का part है ये, whenever something happens that is requiring to increase our heart rate or causing anxiety, causing any kind of fear, क्या बोलते हैं, fight or flight kind of response, then our sympathetic nervous system is activated. ठीक है, let's come to the next main heading, that is that of cognitive basis of emotions. Cognitive से तो आपके दिमाग में thought, information processing ये सब words आएंगे होंगे. So let's quickly get into that. So basically cognitive psychologists have presumed that our experience of emotion grows from awareness of our present arousal. ठीक है, important line. So for example, if our heart is beating faster, we can be excited or we can be scared or we can be really angry also. ठीक है, so arousal already if you have in your body, then that would lead to provocation. उसके लिए they did a very neat little experiment. Scatter and Singer 1962 injected their subjects with adrenaline, है ना, epinephrine, sorry, that is, yes, it is related to adrenaline. So it is produced by the adrenal glands. We did this in chapter 3 also. So उन्होंने epinephrine के injections लगा दिए, that is used to activate our sympathetic nervous system. ठीक है, उसके बाद what they did was subjects were made to observe behavior of others either in a happy manner or in an angry manner. ठीक है, तो as predicted, euphoric or angry behavior of others influenced the cognitive interpretation of their subject's arousal. So after that injection was put in, उन्होंने किस चीज से उसको interpret किया, that was dependent on the kind of activity they were given. ठीक है, let's come to the cultural basis of emotions. So this is also to do with the kind of emotions we face and also the emotions we display. ठीक है, for example, in certain societies, display of anger is more acceptable than in other societies, and similarly display of sadness is more acceptable than the display of any kind of other emotion. ठीक है, so first of all, cultural learning influences the expression of emotion more than what it is experienced. For example, some cultures encourage free emotional expression while other cultures tell people to through modeling and reinforcement to reveal little about their emotions. ठीक है, as I said. And secondly, learning has a great deal to do with the stimuli that produce emotional reactions. It has been shown that individuals with excessive fears of elevators, automobiles, etc. Learn this through classical conditioning, modeling, जिनके बारे में हमने chapter 6 में पढ़ा था. So, if the expression or if you experience any kind of emotion and that emotion is very much conditioned with something inappropriate, then you are not likely to in that way only it is going to get conditioned, and that way it's going to be processed in your mind. ठीक है, so quickly let's come to expression of emotions, which is the next topic. इसमें भी a similar argument is going on about the cultural and emotional aspects of emotional expression. ठीक है, so इसमें क्या है, there are other factors that we are including apart from the facial expressions. एक तो हमारे facial expressions तो हैं जो हमारे emotions बता सकते हैं. For example, if I'm smiling now, you know that I'm happy about making this video and nobody is putting a gun on my head or forcing me to make it. ठीक है, but if I appear to be really frustrated or I appear to be really angry and I look at you in that manner, then you can read my face and tell कि यार इस बंदी को video बनाने का मन कर रहा है, नहीं कर रहा. ठीक है, but even using my body language you can figure it out. For example, if I sit like this and I start talking, ठीक है. Now we are going to do chapter 9 or chapter 10 psychology class 11. So you will feel like कि ये क्या है, मतलब what is she trying to convey by doing this? This is more closed and more strict kind of, you know, gesture from my side. So if I'm not opening my hands, if I'm not welcoming my audience, then that will have an impact on my emotional expression and their interpretation of my emotional expression as well. Okay, so फेशियल एक्सप्रेशंस तो कन्वे कर ही सकते हैं, बॉडी लैंग्वेज भी कन्वे कर सकती है. फेशियल एक्सप्रेशंस एक्चुअली बेसिक इमोशंस कन्वे कर सकते हैं, राइट? जॉय, फियर, एंगर, डिस्गस्ट, सैडनेस एंड सरप्राइज. But if you want a more nuanced one, more nuanced sort of analysis, then you have to look at the whole, you know, bodily movement, gestures, even to an extent gaze. Yeah, so some people make others really uncomfortable with their gaze, so they'll keep staring at one. You know, if I keep staring in the camera, obviously you will be really uncomfortable. So all this para language and you know, जो हमारे other than facial features हमारी चीजें हैं, that will also really determine what kind of emotional expression you are conveying. Now इसमें cultural का भी example है. In China, a hand clap is an expression of worry or disappointment, and anger is expressed with a laughter. Okay, that's weird. For us, obviously it's weird because when we laugh, we feel like it is a relaxed environment and, you know, it is conveying happiness. But in there, it can convey anger also. ठीक है? In India, deep emotions are sometimes communicated via silence. You कहते हैं ना, silent treatment दे रहे हैं किसी को. It's very toxic, but it is done. So cultural differences have also been found in the gaze behavior. It has been observed that Latin Americans and South Europeans direct their gaze on the eyes, and Asians, particularly Indians and Pakistanis, prefer peripheral gaze, looking away from the conversational partner. जैसे एकदम उसमें देख के हम लोग बात नहीं करते, थोड़ा सा इधर उधर देख के करते हैं. That is a very cultural adoption. Proximity is a very good example. So when you go abroad, you realize that everyone is standing from one another at a one-arm distance. ठीक है? And in India, no such concept appears. So I think if you have the opportunity to do this, then of course next time you go to an airport, or hopefully when you have the opportunity to go to an airport, आप जरूर notice करना, if you're traveling abroad, इंडिया में जो इमिग्रेशन की लाइन है उस पे कितना डिस्टेंस से लोग खड़े हैं versus if you go to the states or if you go to Australia, how you know, assuming that your flight was not full of Indians and it is full of multicultural people, you can see कि what a distance and कितनी proximity से लोग एक दूसरे के आसपास खड़े हैं. Now nothing is good or bad. In no way is standing apart from each other. I mean, in Corona times it is, but in no way other than that is it better or worse. But it is just a cultural adaptation. ठीक है? So next comes the cultural and emotional labeling. Anger जो हम basically जो हम चीजों को नाम देते हैं. So, for example, North American subjects produced 40 different responses for facial expression of anger and 81 responses for facial expression of contempt. Japanese produced 10, anger के लिए 8, disgust के लिए 6 labels. ये हमारी languages और हमारी different cultures से affect हो सकता है. Don't need to do this in very much detail, but yeah, read it. It will be good. So, it is important to remember that culture plays a significant role in all processes of emotions. Both expression and experience of emotions are mediated and modified by culture-specific display rules. ठीक है, कैसे उसको display करना है किसी भी emotion. So let's come to the next topic, which is managing negative emotions. Now, as I was saying, even in the need for belongingness वाले paragraph में, I was explaining कि anxiety, depression, all these are emotions only, or these disorders cause us to feel emotions that are not very pleasant. ठीक है? So it is very important to understand how to manage emotions. ठीक है? A lot of very intelligent people I know, and in general in the world also, they are very good at IQ. उनका IQ बहुत अच्छा होता है, very good at problem solving and solving puzzles. But when it comes to their emotional quotient, EQ जो उनका होता है, that is very poor. So you should not aim to become one of those people. You know कि अगर आप पे कोई emotional crisis आ जाए, personal crisis आ जाए, that you are not able to deal with it. To become a self-actualized person, as we read earlier, to become the self-actualized person, you need to have a balanced approach. ठीक है? IQ भी अच्छा होना चाहिए, EQ भी अच्छा होना चाहिए. Very few people are able to manage their emotions effectively all the time. All the time तो कोई भी नहीं कर पाता, but most of the time also. ठीक है? So depression and anxiety, as I said, are examples that make you feel negative emotions, and we always want to reduce those negative emotions. So now we will direct our energy into finding out how to reduce negative emotions. ठीक है? First of all, the thing you can do is enhance your self-awareness. be aware of your own feelings, try to gain insight. This is a very wholesome part of the chapter, because if you are feeling any of these kind of things, you can always go to these things or relate to them. Okay? So next one is appraise the situation objectively. Exactly. ऐसा बहुत हमारे पास होता है that your preparation might not be as bad as you think it is, but because you are anxious, it is making you think like that. So objectively from a distance आप उसको वो करो, नहीं मेरा ये चैप्टर हो गया है, मेरे को ये चैप्टर करना है, एटलीस्ट मेरे इतने मार्क्स तो आ ही जाएंगे, या अगर नहीं आते तो these are the things I can do to score even better. Objectively analyze the situation instead of getting wrapped up in मुझे कुछ नहीं आता, I'm a useless person, I'm a failure, and coming down that arrow. ठीक है? It's very important. Do some self-monitoring. It involves constant or periodic evaluation of your past accomplishments, emotion, and physical states. For example, ऐसा तो नहीं है ना कि आज तक you have not passed a single exam. अभी किया इतने सालों से, you have been doing it, so you will perform well in the coming exams as well. Okay? So engage in self-modeling. You know that कि जब आपका एक एग्जाम हुआ था जिसमें आपके 20 on 20 मार्क्स आए थे, what kind of techniques you used to perform better. ठीक है? So you can use those techniques to perform better. Similarly, emotions also. कि जब आपकी उससे फाइट हुई थी, so जब मेरी फ्रेंड से फाइट हुई थी, so some person might think कि he decided to communicate it very effectively instead of hiding it or putting up a status indirectly. इन सब चीजों से better you should directly have a conversation with them, and when you did that, your relations improved. So now when you have a fight again, choose the best of your emotion management strategies and use that one. ठीक है? Perceptual reorganization and cognitive restructuring. मतलब कि visualize करो कि दूसरा another side of the coin. Again, if you have had a fight with someone, imagine that maybe they will also be miserable that they have fought with you, or maybe they will also think that अरे उसी की गलती है. Nobody thinks that in any situation that it's my fault that I did something that caused hurt to some other person. So maybe they are also feeling hurt. Maybe they also think that it's your fault. So manage that and visualize the other person's emotions and restructure it cognitively. अपनी thoughts को restructure करो. ठीक है? Be creative. That is one of the best things. You can have a hobby. If you sing, dance, paint, etc., etc. You do anything. That is a very good way of dealing with emotions. Enhancing positive emotions. Even running is one of the best ways to deal with negative emotions. I feel like I do that a lot. So develop and nurture good relationships. ठीक है? Choose your friends carefully. Company ध्यान से choose करो and have a good relationship. Don't be in toxic relationships. Have empathy. Try to understand the other person's feelings, to put them, put yourself in other person's shoes, and then participate in community service. Now, you might think that this does not work, but it actually works wonders. So, volunteer for suicide prevention helplines, volunteer for dog shelters, volunteer for any kind of thing you're passionate about, and you will feel really good about yourself, and you'll feel really positive. Okay? Then we come to managing our anger, which is similar to managing our emotions, just that anger is a very particularly, troublesome feeling. So, recognize the power of your thoughts. If you are thinking in a certain way negatively about someone, then it can actually cause, it can actually cause you to get up and slap that person or cause any kind of aggression to that person. Okay? Realize you alone can control it. Nobody will help you control your anger, only it is in your hand. For example, I love the example of touch your nose. If you're watching this video, please try and touch your nose. And if you were able to touch your nose, that means you are in control of your actions. So, if you are able to achieve this, then you will definitely be able to control your anger also, not beat someone up. Okay? That is not the solution. Do not engage in self-talk that burns. ऐसे नहीं कि नेगेटिव फीलिंग्स को आप मैग्नीफाई कर रहे हो, दैट लास्ट टाइम भी उसने ये किया था, उससे पहले भी ये किया था, थिंकिंग अबाउट समवन. ठीक है? डू नॉट ascribe to intentions or ulterior motives of others. Don't do that. Resist having irrational beliefs about people and events. Irrational beliefs नहीं होनी चाहिए. Have practical, very evidence-based beliefs even about other people's behaviors. ठीक है? Have control on the degree and duration of anger that you choose to express. ठीक है? Constructive ways of expressing anger is sport, is going to the gym. ठीक है? That is, I feel it's a very constructive way. Okay? Or write a poem about it. That is also very constructive. Don't take it out on someone. Okay? Look inward, not outward for anger control. No. Inward. Okay? Although running is also very good, I said, it's very constructive way. So give yourself time to change, and it takes effort to do that. Okay? Finally, let's come to the last heading, which is enhancing positive emotions. It is very similar to the one that we did about managing negative emotions, but it's a bit different. First thing you can do is inculcate positive personality traits like optimism, hopefulness, happiness, and positive self-regard. Always think of the best. ठीक है, ऐसा मत सोचो that something bad will happen. Finding positive meaning in dire circumstances. I was teaching a student the other day and he asked me कि ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है मैम कि एकदम dire circumstances में हम meaning making कर रहे हैं, positive सोच रहे हैं. But I explained with an example कि usually जब लोगों का accident होता है ना, तो उसके बाद their life really changes. They start evaluating कि I had a near death experience, so now I really need to make some changes in my life to make it more worthwhile and positive. ठीक है? That's how it happens. Meaning making, positive meaning in dire circumstances. Now, having quality connections with others. अच्छा network होना चाहिए, friends and family. Being engaged in work and gaining mastery. Never sit idle. If you are idle, negative thoughts will come to your mind. Positive thoughts नहीं आएंगे. ठीक है? Most probably. Faith that embodies social support, purpose, and hope, leading to a life of purpose. Any kind of faith it can be. It can be faith in God. It can be faith in Star Wars. It can be faith in anything. Don't restrict yourself to religion only. ठीक है? Or faith in your social connections, in yourself. That is the most important one. Faith in yourself. ठीक है? Positive interpretations of most daily activities. ठीक है? So it means कि जो भी आपकी आसपास की daily activities हो रही हैं, उनको आप positively ही interpret करो. What does that mean? That means कि if something ambiguous has happened, मतलब doubtful है आपको कि whether that person, उसने मुझे मना कर दिया, he doesn't want to meet me. Maybe that is for your good and his good, or maybe he was feeling strong emotions and henceforth he could not meet up with you. So whatever is happening around you, whatever situation is arising, always try to deal it in a positive way. Try to take out a positive interpretation. Okay? So this was the final chapter of class 11. I really hope to see you again in class 12, but I'm really happy that I have done these videos and I really hope they help you out and you perform really well in your abhi to aapke 11th hai, so yeah, in your exams, upcoming exams, whatever you have. And you can always comment and ask me questions. This is actually PSA ki if you have questions relating to any chapter, you can still comment in this box and I will try to answer them. And of course, as I always say, do subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for listening to me.